Okay, hi, thank you for coming to our little workshop, Teaching for TEKS. Today we're just going to focus on the 4th grade TEKS and how they're related to the STAR testing, because 4th grade is a really big year for STAR testing. So just to go over real briefly what we're going to cover, we're going to talk about the strands, readiness and supporting standards, tested and untested standards, and then beforehand y'all had some questions that y'all answered and we'll go over that. So there's 5 strands. There's reading, writing, oral and written conventions, research, listening and speaking, and then figure 19. In reading, we want to make sure that students are where they need to be for comprehending and understanding what's going on in the text that they're reading, whether it's in class or not. Writing, it's about the writing processes, making sure that students know how to properly write and go through all the steps, editing and revising and all of those things, and making sure that their feelings are coming across in their writing. Oral and written conventions, this is more about the mechanics of how you write and how you speak. This is where punctuation and then grammar comes in a lot in the conventions of oral and writing. Research, this is making sure that students can ask in-depth research-based questions. They can plan out how they're going to find the answer and then actually find the answer itself. Listening and speaking focuses on making sure students are getting the pertinent information from what they're hearing, and also making sure they're getting their thoughts across when they get up here and speak to everyone. So making sure they know how to do that. And figure 19 focuses a lot on metacognitive skills, like thinking about their thinking and why they come up with the things they do. Does anyone know what readiness and supporting standards are?
I think I know what they are.
Okay.
So for readiness standards, they are essential for success in the current grade or course. And with supporting standards, they are reinforced in the current grade or course, but they may be emphasized in a previous year. So basically, readiness standards would be what they're learning, and supporting standards are kind of just a refresher for them.
Exactly. So that's basically summarizing and fact and opinion. Summarizing is a readiness standard. So this is something, their ability to summarize is going to be tested on STAR. And you, as a 4th grade teacher, are solely responsible for making sure they know how to summarize information. While fact and opinion, you are going to cover it, but they have seen fact and opinion in other grades. So it won't be directly tested on the STAR, but they are going to be able to use that skill for things that they'll find on the STAR. So that's really important. You'll just have to these are like review. Supporting standards is a review. So for tested and untested standards, should everything be tested? And can everything be tested? No. Simple. You can't test everything that they learn in school. So on the STAR and on most standardized testing, we focus on testing reading and writing because those things have products. You can test easily reading comprehension by asking questions. You can give students a prompt and make sure that they are following the writing process and making sure that their feelings and ideas are coming across clearly. But in a traditional test, you can't necessarily test their oral and writing conventions, not as a whole. That would be something you'd have to do more one-on-one. In research, in the time allotted for standardized testing, you can't expect them to go out, do research, and ask these in-depth questions. There's just not time. Listening and speaking, until you get to older grades, you won't be able to test that in a standardized way, and even then it's kind of iffy. That's something that will be done more informally. When you ask questions directly in class, then you'll know if they're listening, and when they talk to you in class, you'll know. And then figure 19, since it is focused a lot on metacognition, while there are questions, it is a standard that shows up on the TEKS. Okay. It's harder to test, but it just focuses on comprehension. So earlier you had 2 questions, and I wanted you to find 2 standards that y'all felt will be hard to teach, and 5 important standards that y'all would like to do. So can anybody explain to me what they came up with?
I can.
Okay.
So for hard to teach, we decided for the first would be figure 19, and it was that students use metacognitive skills to understand the author's meaning, make inferences about tact, and use evidence to support it. And those are reading and comprehension skills. And it's hard to teach metacognitive skills like that because a lot of students will interpret authors' writing in a different way. And we also selected students use comprehension skills to analyze how words, images, and graphics work together to impact meaning, because students typically focus on one item at a time when they're reading, even in 4th grade. So it might be a little difficult for them to to come up with all those skills at one time. And then for important, we selected, these were all reading. So for 18.A, we chose make inferences and draw conclusions about sensory language because they identify authors' purposes of similes and metaphors to produce imagery, and poetry will be something that's very important in the higher grade levels. We also selected 11.B, which was draw conclusions about expository tests and use evidence to support understanding. And these distinguish facts from opinions so it can broaden their horizons more on things that they know how to do. And we chose 13.A, which was to determine the sequence of activities needed to carry out a procedure. And so the students, of course, understand procedural texts and documents. So that's how they'll be able to determine these activities. And then the last 2 we chose were figure 19 metacognitive. The first one was figure 19D, which was make inferences about text and use textual evidence to support it, because inferencing is something along with summarizing that will be important for students to do as they get older and read more chapter books and have to do more research. And also figure 19E, which was to summarize information in text, maintaining meaning and logical order, because sometimes students' ideas can get a little more skewed, especially with longer books.
Okay, awesome. So that was just a little intro to our Teaching the TEKS thing. So we'll take a short break and be right back.